Hi, I'm Mark Walker. I'm the editorial director of the FinTech Times, and we're here with Steve Durning. Steve, perhaps give us a quick intro, who you are, what your role is.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks for having me on today. So I'm Steve Durning. I'm portfolio director here at Tahaluf. I'm responsible for Money2020 Middle East and a few other shows within the tech portfolio here.
Well, that's wonderful news because that's what we want to talk about. Everything Money 2020 and the Middle East. And I guess a lot of the first sort of things that everyone's going to be asking really is obviously this is the first ever Money 2020 in the Middle East. After a great number of shows in the US, in Europe, in China, in Asia. Why Riyadh?
I think it's very significant. Riyadh's been chosen as the host city for Money 2020, almost symbolic of the trajectory the kingdom's on. Riyadh is one of the fastest growing finance hubs in the world, driven by Vision 2030. We're very lucky to have support of the full regulatory ecosystem on this show, the Financial Sector Development Programme, the Saudi Central Bank, Capital Market Authority, Insurance Authority, and FinTech Saudi. I don't think it's a secret that Saudi is investing heavily in its digital infrastructure, its fintech, and generally technology at large, and its regulatory reforms to diversify away from oil. So I think hosting Money 2020 in Riyadh really puts the region at the center of the fintech conversation in a big way. We'll see a lot of people, a lot of big established brands connecting with the local startups, SMEs, innovators, investors, and regulators over the course of the 3 days next week. And I think it sends a really strong signal to the world that the Middle East isn't just a consumer of fintech products. It wants to co-create the future of finance and fintech. And I think we'll start seeing a lot of fintech innovation being exported out of the region and globally from this point.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like talking a little bit more broadly about Vision 2030. Obviously, there's some big ambitions with the kingdom, um, and obviously, FinTech Saudi play a big part in that. But obviously, working closely with event providers like yourself is key, isn't it? Because it's all about building community and building ecosystem. So I guess that's also one of the reasons for having it in a centrally accessible place like Riyadh.
Sure. And I think it's good that you touched on the word ecosystem and community. It is a really key thing driving this. We're lucky to be in a market that has done so much work historically to build the base for its startups and basically the full value chain. So we're benefiting from that, and we're playing a small part in really exporting what the kingdom and the region is doing to the global stage.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously the next sort of thing that I wanted to go into. Obviously, this is being heralded as a global meeting point for fintech communities, and obviously you've got people like the US Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the UK's Financial Conduct Authority attending as well, other major institutions. How crucial do you think it is to have those big international cities present also?
It's super important for us to have that here. Um, all Money 2020s are designed to be the ultimate meeting point for the fintech community, and it's the first time that the Middle East has really had the opportunity to showcase on an international scale what's happening. And having the FCA and the CFTC here join with the local regulators is really important. But it's not just the regulatory ecosystem that's here. We'll have the financial institution, investors, and innovators at large coming to Riyadh. And it is really important because fintech doesn't really see borders. So we need to have the collaboration across border payments, AI, digital assets. So we're really excited to have the world coming here and seeing really what's happening on the ground, but also to sort of collaborate and understand how we can take best practices from the world to the Middle East.
Yeah, as you say, I mean, there's obviously we can go into a lot of detail, which we don't really have time for, unfortunately, around sort of open banking and open finance, which has been a real sort of success story in the kingdom. I wouldn't say copied, but taken some of the best bits from Australia and the UK and put them into a really sort of vibrant ecosystem in its own right here in the kingdom. Is that what your event is trying to look at as a global meeting point? Are you trying to bring a lot more people in to create that cross-border dialogue and collaboration?
Definitely. Geography really plays on our side in Saudi. We're right in the middle of East and West. There's good relations between Saudi and all countries. So we're inviting people here to see really what we're doing. But, Saudi offers its hand in partnership to everyone, whether that is learning from the big established markets, and some of the newer fintech hubs which are emerging across Asia and Africa. Everyone's welcome. We're trying to really foster a future here, and Saudi wants to sort of co-create that with the world.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I guess I don't want to take too much time with you. We're only a week out from the event, so I'm sure you've got lots and lots of things to do. But just on a final one, although everyone is obviously talking about this being the first ever Money 2020 in the Middle East, for you guys and Tahaluf, this isn't a new event, new thing for you. You've been running events in the region forever, massive events like Leap, Black Hat, Middle East. How does the Money 2020 brand compare with that and your broader strategy of events for the region?
Bringing Money 2020 to Saudi is indicative of what we've done at Tahaluf since our inception. We want to bring the world's biggest brands to the kingdom. There is the market and the ecosystem here to sustain them. And I think if you saw the success of what the predecessor to Money 2020 was, which was 24 FinTech, I think it was a real great case study for us that the market was ready for something like this. And I think for as long as Tahaluf is in the region, we're going to be bringing the world's best IPs, the biggest events that we can bring, because there is a real home for it here. There's an appetite for big flagship events within the kingdom.
Right. And then obviously a final question. This is one that I like to ask all of my conference producers that I meet for Money 2020 around the world. And it's really unfair. So, the question is, it's a bit like asking to pick your favorite child. Of all the stages at the event, what's your favorite stage?
I'm going to get in trouble with my producers on this one. But the next gen money stage, which will be in Hall 2, is just from the aesthetics and design is stunning. The content will be everything to do with payments, AI, what happens next in the fintech space. I think the experience for people who come to the show is going to be next level, if I'm honest with you. The team have done a brilliant job curating it, from the visuals to the content to the speakers to the experience within it. So if you're coming over to Riyadh, definitely drop in on the next gen stage.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. I'm sure every stage is going to be phenomenal. And having been to your events
Absolutely.
previously and 24 FinTech, I know you're going to blow it out the park. Thank you so much for spending this time with me.
Thank you, Mark, and see you next week.